From her early comic book origins to her explosive popularity in Batman the Animated Series, Poison Ivy has long been one of the Caped Crusader's most iconic foes. Hey everybody, I'm Josh Busker, and today we're going to be counting down the top 10 Poison Ivy love interests. Coming in at number 10, we've got Catwoman, a pairing that's mostly the stuff of fandom for now, but that's gotten enough official hints and references over the years to earn an honorable mention on this list. Catwoman and Poison Ivy both had a penchant for many years to keep up a flirty relationship with the Dark Knight, leading many fans to speculate that the bisexual Poison Ivy could also be interested in her fellow female supervillain. With some flirty back and forths through their history in the comics, alongside a very pointed mind control kiss during the animated film Batman Hush, it's clear that Catwoman and Poison Ivy might just have more in common than a rivalry with the Caped Crusader. Coming in at number 9, we have Darshan Bapna, a more recent character from Poison Ivy's very first limited series in 2016. Forced into becoming a scientist due to large expectations from his family, botany was the area of science that bored Darshan the least, even if his true passion was to be a musician. Darshan first became close with Pamela when the two briefly worked together at the Gotham City Botanical Gardens, with her first becoming interested in him following the revelation that he practices complete nonviolence and won't even eat plants, since he considers them to have a soul. And if we know anything, it's that being kind to plants is kind of the way to Poison Ivy's heart, even if it means an incredibly restrictive diet along the way. Coming in at number 8, we have Dick Grayson, specifically the version portrayed by Chris O'Donnell in the 1997 film Batman and Robin. A highly controversial movie from the 90s, this film saw Poison Ivy, portrayed by Uma Thurman, as arguably the most villainous character in a movie with 3 different villains. Manipulating both Mr. Freeze and Bane to aid in her dirty work, this version of Poison Ivy also directly tries to seduce both Batman and Robin, but winds up being unable to poison the young sidekick because he conveniently had some fake rubber lips made for the occasion. Not quite as ridiculous as a Bat credit card, but hey, at least this ill-advised romance was ended before it could really get going. Coming in at number 7, we have Dr. Marc LeGrande. In the very first Bronze Age version of the Poison Ivy character, her origin story was heavily tied to an abusive doctor named Marc LeGrande. As a promising young botanist, Pamela was seduced into helping LeGrande steal an Egyptian artifact filled with magical herbs. Afraid that Pamela will betray him to the authorities, LeGrande later tried to poison his assistant with these very same herbs, unaware that they would instead gift her with a complete immunity to poison and the beginning of her talent for controlling plants. And although Poison Ivy's origin story would be updated and retconned many times over the years, we'll still always remember the original bad guy who learned the hard way not to mess with Poison Ivy. Coming in at number 6, we have the Man of Steel himself, Superman. When your superpower involves mind-controlling people sealed with a kiss, it's understandably going to cause some drama, and that's exactly what happened in the infamous Hush storyline. Needing a heavyweight to protect herself against Batman and Catwoman, Poison Ivy ensnares the most powerful superhero on the planet under her control, and nearly has him kill the Dark Knight. The only reason that Batman is able to survive this battle is due to Superman holding back his strength as much as he can, even if he no longer directly controls his limbs thanks to Poison Ivy's kiss. Eventually, Superman breaks free when he's needed to save Lois Lane, showing that even mind-controlling kisses can't conquer true love. Coming in at number 5, we've got to go with Harvey Dent. One of the best things to ever happen to Poison Ivy as a character was her rise in popularity due to Batman the Animated Series, and her very first episode in that show is a great example as to why. Introduced as the beautiful new girlfriend of District Attorney Harvey Dent before his tragic turn into Two-Face, Harvey Dent soon finds himself in a coma after a particularly deep kiss from Pamela. Pursued by Batman, Pamela reveals herself as Poison Ivy, the latest supervillain in Gotham who seduced and manipulated Harvey Dent in order for revenge at all the flowers he tore up when building a new Gotham City prison. In an ironic twist, this very same prison is where Poison Ivy would end up after her scheme failed and her true colors were revealed. Coming in at number 4, we've got the tragic romance of Poison Ivy and Clayface. While many of the entries on this list so far have featured Ivy manipulating people, the most heartbreaking betrayal of this nature might be the time she made Clayface fall in love with her. While the shape-shifting villain was stuck inside Arkham Asylum, Pamela made him believe they were genuinely in love and married, and Clayface spent much of his time dreaming of seeing his wife again. Unfortunately, Batman would eventually need to let him know the truth, that Poison Ivy was controlling him not just with seduction, but with seeds implanted within his clay body, breaking Clayface's heart with the ultimate betrayal that he wasn't really in love after all. Coming in at number 3, we have the Dark Knight himself, Batman. While Poison Ivy has definitely flirted with the Caped Crusader less often in recent years, in many early Batman adventures, Ivy had her eyes set on the very man trying to stop her schemes. And while there are a few storylines where this attraction was more than one-sided, for the most part, this relationship mostly consisted of Poison Ivy kissing Batman to mind control him and aid in her plant-based plans. Luckily, by this point, Batman usually has several antidotes for each of his villains' various chemicals of choice, but it's still notable just how many times in the past Batman's had his brain wiped by a vine-controlling redhead. Coming in at number 2, we have the Floronic Man. A supervillain connected to the Green, a primordial energy source connected to all plant life on the planet, the Floronic Man fulfills the same role as Marc LeGrande did in some version of Pamela's origin story, experimenting on her as his assistant and turning her into a plant-human hybrid similar to himself. In a notable storyline, he almost managed to use some of Poison Ivy's DNA to create the ultimate plant life form between the two of them, but resulted in Pamela changing her mind and allying herself with Batman in order to defeat the plant-based monster with electricity, destroying the villain once and for all, or at least until he was reused as a villain for a new Swamp Thing series. And finally, coming in at our top spot, who else could it be but Harley Quinn? Created for the very same animated series that made Poison Ivy one of Batman's most well-known villains, Harley Quinn has had one of the best character arcs in all of comics, growing from a one-note henchman of the Joker to becoming her own fully fleshed-out character with one of the most popular romances that comic books have ever seen. Harley and Pamela are perfect for one another, as Poison Ivy teaches Harley Quinn how to be her own woman, free from the Joker's abuse, and Harley allows Pamela to connect more with her human side instead of just obsessing over plants. These two better each other in every way, and that's why Harley Quinn's gotta take the top spot on this list. That's all the time we have for today's video, so thank you all so much for watching. As always, I've been Josh Busker, and I'll see you all next time, Nerd Squad.